Hey everybody, Elizabeth Nader back with you tonight, the Nader Narrative. We are continuing to bring you great candidates throughout the state of New Jersey who are running at all different levels. And tonight we are talking about Howell Township Board of Education. I want to welcome Joe Maurer, Ian Nadel, and Ray Cortez to the show. Welcome, guys.
Hi.
Thank you for having us.
Thanks for having us.
Absolutely. All three of you running for Howell Township Board of Education, but it's important for everyone to know in Howell Township, this is a write-in campaign. So I'm going to tell you that 100 times before we're done, but make sure you guys know who are listening and sharing this, that you need to know these three names and you need to write them in. You will not see them on the ballot, and we'll explain why that is. But first, let's go through and meet all of you guys and understand your background, why you are running, and why this is so important to you. Ian, let's start with you.
Hi. I moved to Howell about 5 years ago with my family at the time. I have two small boys. They're currently 4 and 5 years old. My oldest just started kindergarten in the Howell school system this September. And prior to the year starting, we were under the impression that it would be mask optional. And over the summer, that obviously wound up changing. And it's really not a great experience for him, especially being in his first year in a new district, new school. And the board just wasn't listening to the parents who disagreed with these policies coming out of Trenton. And we've come up with some suggestions, attended all the board meetings, and it fell on deaf ears. So we had to take the matters into our own hands and try to get some parental freedom and choice back into our district.
So really the deadline to get yourself on the ballot happened before the change in the mask policy. So it sounds to me like when that came out again, that just pushed you guys over the line. Joe, you want to introduce yourself, please, and also tell us the reason why you decided to throw your hat in the ring for this.
Sure. My name is Joe Maurer. You'll have to write me in as Joseph, though, to make it official and legal. But just like Ian, we have been going to these Board of Ed meetings since I started really attending in the summer, right before they started messing with the executive orders again. And like he said, we've been going and voicing our opinions and concerns, and it's just been going unheard, unanswered. And we just want to make a change, and we're going to step up to it. And, the reason we're not on the ballot is the same thing. These mask mandates came out again after the deadline to file. And we thought we were going to get somewhere when they were leaving it up to the school districts and making it optional. Right. And then this came out, and we're not really seeing much help from our board. And we basically just want to, we want to be the voice of the parents, because so many parents are frustrated. They're not being heard, and either they don't really have the time or the energy to step up. And, we're the guys to do it right now.
Absolutely. Great. Okay, Ray, tell us all about you as well.
My name is Ray Cortez. I moved here to Howell in 2008 from Brooklyn, New York. I put two of my three kids through the Howell school system, and now I have a grandkid who's in Griebling. And the reason I got involved with this is because of demasking policy and also the curriculum. But right now, the main thing is the masking for me. To me, there's nothing more insulting as a parent, a grandparent, an American, than to have the state, the government, tell me that they can take better care of my kids than I can.
Yeah.
I speak to parents, and some of them have put in for medical exemptions in the district, and they have gone nowhere. The doctors have not responded. So, that's definitely something that needs to be changed as soon as possible.
Right. Absolutely. And we're hearing that all across the state, even though that is a valid exemption written into the executive order. We're seeing school districts not respond to it. So, Ian, I want to ask you, with the masking issue, the frustration you're having with it, is the board simply not taking a position? Are they only just hiding behind the executive order? Or what have you experienced when you guys first brought your concerns about this to them?
A lot of it seems that they are hiding behind the executive order. I've come up with suggestions as to how to implement exceptions and exemptions that are written into the order, and other exemptions that are protected under the U.S. Constitution, state constitutions, and they still hide behind that executive order saying that they can't do it because that is the law. But we do know there are other ways to, go around that order and still be within the law.
Joe, what have those meetings been like? We've seen a video of a lot of these meetings that have gotten pretty tense, to the point where now some of us going to Board of Education meetings are being called domestic terrorists. So I guess that would include the three of you. How have those meetings been, and is the community really up in arms?
We've been showing up with numbers. I mean, I wish our numbers were bigger, but people are tuning in to the virtual section of the meeting. Sure. But it hasn't been like what you see on Fox News where we're, screaming belligerently at these members. We're being very respectful. Mm-hmm. The only thing that's loud is the round of applause we're getting after we speak. But I mean, the classification of domestic terrorists is unbelievable when, you have the summer of riots going on. They're burning buildings down. They can't even label terrorist groups for burning down whole cities, and then we're just trying to be parents and look out for the best welfare of our children. And, now we're the domestic terrorists. It just blows my mind at this point.
Yeah. I mean, not only that, but in Virginia, they were talking about keeping parents out of the classroom. I mean, it's sort of strange how this whole thing has changed. And, Ray, you bring up the point about feeling really offended that the government can tell you what to put on your children, in your children, what to teach your children. Is your grandchild special needs as well?
Yes, he's autistic, so he is a special needs. So that's one of my major concerns, that sometimes because of his disability, he may not be able to express himself and say, look, I'm having problems with this mask. So,
and there's been no accommodation for that? They aren't making any special accommodation for special needs that you're aware of?
Not that I'm aware of. I mean, supposedly the teachers are, trying to stay vigilant, but they have so many kids in the class, so that to me is a major problem. Sure,
absolutely. When it comes to the science, and I'll put that in air quotes because I'm not really sure what science is being used anymore. Ian, do you guys see any kind of outbreaks? You see children getting sick with COVID? What we understand is it doesn't affect them to a great extent, and they actually don't transmit it. So the mask requirement, what is your opinion on what's behind that?
I think it is the NJEA, which is the teachers union in our state, because it is a unique mandate that only focuses on the school buildings within our state. And if it wasn't for that common denominator, it doesn't apply anywhere else where children are the primary customers in play areas, Chuck E. Cheese, shopping malls, movie theaters. It does not apply except for inside the school buildings. So to say that it's about their health, it's not about their health when it comes down to the fact that it's only in certain situations. And that common denominator is that New Jersey Teachers Union, who also donated $5 million to Murphy's reelection campaign as well.
Right. No small thing right there to notice. Joe, how old are your kids?
So I actually have three. My children, I have two boys. They are 6 and 7. He's about to turn 8. And then I actually have a stepdaughter who's 19. So she's out of the school system in college. Right. My little boys, they're in elementary school. And I was actually fortunately enough able to get an opening at a private school right down the street. I was able to get them in last minute, like the day before school was about to start. And I had to get them away from this, everything going on right now, and with the masks and potentially the vaccine mandate coming through, which we heard from Project Veritas.
Correct.
And the curriculum is a big thing too.
So you actually took the step, as many have, of pulling them out of school to get them, as you say, away from all this craziness. And so you were able to do that. Of course, we know that if these mandates come down, they will reach into the private schools, sadly. There are less and less places where we can actually protect our children. I can't believe I'm saying that out loud. But tell me a little bit about the 6 and 7-year-old in terms of their experience with the mask. They had to do it originally until you pulled them out?
Yes.
What would they tell you about their experience with them?
Well, my older one absolutely hates it. He hates having anything over his face. He was basically sucking it up because, everyone else in school was. But the second he would get out of the building, he'd be ripping it off his face, just like we would be doing. Right. And he would go home every day. I hate this mask. I'm never wearing it again. My little one, however, the younger one, he was actually having anxiety problems and it was actually, you can see it was starting to like mentally affect him. He was in the beginning of it, he did not want to be outside of the house without wearing it because he just feared that either he's going to die or he's going to get into trouble. And if he saw people without masks on, he thought he had to stay away, and you can tell. And now that we've, after this, over the summertime being maskless and running around maskless, you could just see the huge change in it. And now it's like, night and day difference.
Well, really that's incredible. What you talk about really is scary, because I think we're going to have a whole generation of COVID kids that have been really brainwashed in some ways, and especially children that are naturally compliant, which is not a bad thing. But in the case of this situation where they're being told to be afraid of, passing COVID, afraid of their friends, afraid of their teachers, we are creating problems that we're going to pay a price for down the road. Ray, I've got to ask you, when you think about a school board of education, which, I don't know if you thought much about that in the past few years, but now you certainly are. What do you think their job should be? Where does their job start and stop?
Well, the school board, of course, should be making sure that they enact the proper policies as they get guidance from the state. And the Board of Ed, the State Board of Ed, they should enact policies that protect all children, and also very important is that they that parents' rights and wishes are respected.
Yeah,
and that's something we're not seeing right now.
Right. Absolutely. And the people serving on the board right now, Ian, have they been there a while? Can you kind of explain the makeup of the board, or what's going to change in this election? These are 3 open seats. Are you running against incumbents?
There are 2 incumbents and 1 former board member on the ballot. So they're all running unopposed. So that's why we decided to become the writing candidates and try to represent all the parents of our town, not just the ones who agree with mandates coming out of Trenton. So being on the board, we're going to listen to everyone, not just the side that doesn't require any fight within them. And we're going to come in as those fighters and hopefully bring 3 votes for freedom onto the board.
Right. 3 votes for freedom. And you already voted, I think you told me, didn't you? So you know how easy it is, or you've heard how easy it is to write in. Just explain that to people so they understand the process.
It's the polls this year are all touchscreen. So you basically check off the write-in box on a touchscreen and type it in like typing it on a touchscreen computer. You type in the name and your vote's in for a write-in candidate.
Right. Right. So it's very simple to do. So pay attention to the names here. Make sure you put in Joseph Maurer. But I know you guys will be sharing this, and obviously anyone in Howell Township, we want everyone to share this, but it's very easy to write in candidates. So Joe, when you think about, I like the saying the kitchen table versus the school table. And Ray talked about what the Board of Education needs to do. How far are they reaching into your kitchen table? And, is that okay with you? I mean, we're talking curriculum, we're talking potentially vaccines, what you put in your child, what you put on your child. Where should the line be?
It's going too far. I mean, you hear throughout the country, about the critical race theory, and, the sexual preference topics going on right now. I keep hearing things on Facebook is a huge social media platform that this is all spreading on, but keep hearing that CRT is not here. It's not here in New Jersey. It's not here in Howell. There's legislation that the state passed to have equity and all this sexual preference education in our schools and through K through 8. So it is here. It's definitely in New Jersey. And, some of these things are just left to the parents to teach their kids. And we're all about equal rights. We're all for, equal treatment of everybody. But when I send my kids to school, I want them to learn, reading, math, science, history, and I want them to learn American history. I don't want them to learn that communism is a good thing, or these figureheads that promote Marxism. That's wrong.
Well, there's a big difference between Marxism and teaching history. We have to teach our history no matter how negative it is, because that's how you learn. But teaching an ideology is entirely different. And Ray, the CRT isn't presented as CRT. They're not going to take home a textbook that says critical race theory on the front. It sneaks in a lot of different places. So it's easy for someone to say, oh, it's not here. But we know better, as Joe pointed out, there's legislation that actually pushes diversity and inclusion, which if you really read it, you understand that it embraces CRT. So you look at when your children went to school, now your grandson going to school, how different is that education? How quickly is that changing?
Well, my grandson is still pre-K, so he's not there yet.
Yeah.
But I have read some of the enactments they're trying to put through, and unconscious bias is one very big thing that we have to pay attention to, because that's how they're going to sneak in CRT through our schools. Like you said, they make it sound like a benign thing, a thing about equality, but no, it's not about that. It's not
about that. And even though he's as young as pre-K, we know that the legislation to teach sex education and all of that they put together was extended to kindergarten. So he's 1 year away from that curriculum. I mean, it's right there. And let's not forget to mention, he's learning to read and write, and to not be able to see his teachers phonetically spell words and not see their mouth and all of that. This is damage that we don't know. This is like a human experiment. We don't know what kind of damage this will do to our children. And it's really shameful that we are at this place. So Ian, I have to ask you, you guys are running on a freedom platform, which is great. You're three dads, a grandparent who didn't need to do this. You all have your own lives. You never intended to have to run for a board of education. This is where we're at in this country. I champion you guys. I think it's incredible that you're doing this. I think more people who are just everyday people who don't have vested interest beyond that of their children and other people's children, they need to do this. So I salute you guys for it. Just explain to everybody what the Freedom Platform means to you. And I'll have each of you do that as sort of a last statement to your constituents.
All right. To me, it means just giving parents their choice, giving students their choice, what to do to themselves and their bodies. The current board, they didn't stand up to this mandate for masks. And if anything is showing us what's coming, it's going to be more mandates. So them not taking a stand to something small, that they call small, is just a mask mandate. What are they going to do when the bigger ones come, when forcing shots and other medical things, procedures, testing into our children? And I can't sit idly by while that's done to my son, my children, and the other children in our town.
Absolutely. Joe, you've got to be able to look your kids in the eye and said, I did everything I could. So what does freedom mean to you?
It really means parental choice. I mean, we're sending our kids to school for 6-7 hours a day, and we're giving the safety and everything over to the teachers, and we expect them to be safe there. And if they're going to be pushing either their agendas and their political beliefs onto my children, if they're coming home learning about, some sexual education stuff that they shouldn't be in second grade, that's not a safe place. And I'm not going to give my kids an experimental vaccine. I'm sorry. And, if we know these mandates are coming, we know it.
Yes.
So we're all for, parental choice, medical freedom.
Yeah.
That includes the masks, because these masks are now going to compromise the immune systems of these children.
That's right.
Which is actually happening now.
Yeah.
And, they're getting sick with other things, but then they have the school has them quarantining for 20 something days now if they have a possible exposure. So, I mean, these kids aren't learning anything now.
Yeah, we seem to be missing common sense and critical thinking. And obviously we used to teach that. I'm not sure that we're teaching that anymore. Ray, one last statement to the constituents on why this is so important for them to write you guys in, what freedom means to you, and why you're so committed to making this change.
Yeah, well, we're all for freedom. We're all for parental choice. We're all for standing up against critical race theory. This is one place, the school board, where we can break the cycle of these indoctrinations by, Marxist ideologies. So it's very important that we now all step up, because I think a lot of us, We sent our kids to school and believed that they were doing the right thing by them, the teachers and the educators, but
Right.
they're not doing that at this point.
We can no longer just trust that all is well there. We've seen too much, and you've seen it. Now you need to fix it. So write-in campaign, everyone that's listening, please share this with anyone in Howell Township that you know, and make sure they have the 3 names of these gentlemen to write that in. Make sure you vote. Early voting already started, so you can go today, you can vote. And then, of course, on Election Day, November 2nd, will be your last chance to vote. So please don't miss this opportunity. For all listening, you know people in Howell, please share this video. We need more men like you guys. You know, we see a lot of mama bears in the freedom movement, and we love that. But it's extra motivating when we see men step up and decide to protect their families and protect their children. So thank you, Ian, Joe, and Ray. We appreciate you guys, and we're wishing you the best.
Thank you.
Thank
Thanks
you
for having us.
All right, guys.